Hey folks, it's a new video. It's a slightly shorter video than normal because we've only got one night. We've also got company again. Say hi, Emily. Yeah. So we're going to the Wirral, which isn't too far from where we live, to see what fun birds there are. It's usually a really good place for wading birds, ducks, geese, all that kind of stuff. So we thought we'd give you a tour of somewhere a little bit more local to us. We're still going to stay overnight somewhere tonight, not decided where yet. Keep with us, should be pretty good fun.
Our first task was to head towards somewhere to eat, as we ran out of food in our house to take with us. So we headed to Park Gate, that has the best fish and chip shop in the area. We thought this would be the ideal place to get a chippy dinner and look out onto the salt marsh. We weren't the only people who had this idea. When we got there was a massive queue.
What were we in the queue for, Emily, mate?
Chippies.
Chippies, yeah.
When we finally got our food, we sat by the van, watching the sun slowly set over the marsh, watching the gulls fly past. A surprise bird that we didn't expect to see was spoonbills. These are birds which used to be very rare in the UK, but their range is slowly expanding. I have seen them here before, but they're certainly not a common sight, so we were happy to spend our evening with them. After our food, we drove about 10 minutes to the Harpin, which is on the edge of the marsh at Nest. This is a lovely little pub in a lovely situation with a great view. So we had a quick drink and then headed to our overnight destination at Hoylake.
Good morning, folks. It's early, probably about 6:15, I think. The girls are still sleeping in the van. I couldn't sleep, unfortunately, so I got up. It's quite windy out there. I've just found a sheltered spot to kneel down on the floor to try and get this little video. Apparently the rain's coming in a bit, so how lucrative our day is going to be for birding, I don't know, but we're going to persevere anyway. Not too much so far. It was nice to see the spoonbill last night. So the plan today is to go from here probably to West Kirby Marine Lake. There's usually some birds there, certainly at high tide, and then off to Burton wetlands, which is one of our local RSPB reserves, which is generally pretty good. So let's see what kind of cool birds we'll see today. Stick with us.
It turned out I'd got all the tide times wrong, so instead of starting off at Hoylake and driving down towards Burton Mere to end our day, we did it the opposite way, starting at Burton Mere and ending at Hoylake for high tide. But first, we had to find somewhere to have breakfast.
Oh, are you enjoying your breakfast? Yummy, 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 yummy. What's the best bit? Hash browns.
Sit and eat next. Yeah.
Yum yum.
Once we were all full to the brim with full English breakfast, we headed about half an hour down the road to Burton Mere. This is an RSPB reserve that I've visited on many occasions.
Hey folks.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hello, we're at RSPB Burton Mere wetlands. It's due to be raining, but I don't want to jinx it, but it isn't yet. So fingers crossed. We're heading out to see what birdies we can find. I've just seen a great white egret, which is cool, and a heron. Emily wants to see, what do you want to see? Go on.
Kingfisher.
You want to see a kingfisher? I've only ever seen one kingfisher here, so fingers crossed. Let's have a look round. Keep with us.
Looking out from the first screen, there was an enormous amount of Canada geese. I'd never quite seen this many numbers here before. This is a goose that isn't native to Britain and were introduced about 300 years ago from North America. Amongst this large flock of Canada geese, there were some other birds as well, including grey-lag geese. These are Britain's only native breeding goose. There were also some ducks around. We did pick out some teal and also some shoveler like these ones in the video. Before we moved on to the next hide, I decided to take a few photos of the Canada geese in black and white, although I couldn't do this for long because Emily was pretty eager to move on. So we headed along the boardwalks up to Border Hide. Looking out onto the scrape in front of us, there were a number of wading birds. Some of the wading birds comprised of godwits, an impressively large flock of lapwings. These birds, although reasonably common around this area, are now red listed in the UK as their population has been in a pretty steep decline. This hide was a little quieter than usual. I suspect some of this was due to the farmland behind the water being used by horses and other livestock, and also the main reason being one of the farmers on the field next to the scrape was ploughing his field with a tractor. But now it was time to head a little bit up the Wirral towards West Kirby Marine Lake. When we arrived, the rain had come in a little bit. There were still some mad folk sailing on the marine lake, and as the tide came in, I went to see if there were any waders on the rocks, first being greeted by this very, very confiding cormorant that was sat on one of the rocks drying off. As I walked a little further down, I saw some little shapes sat on the rocks. Getting closer, these little shapes were turnstones. These are small waders that are not British breeding birds, so it was really nice to see them in their summer breeding plumage.
You tell me.
Hey folks, where are we?
West Kirby.
And we just briefly stopped to see what it was about as the tide was in. There wasn't much except for a cormorant, a couple of gulls and some extremely confiding turnstone. So it was amazing to see. I've never seen them so close before, so that was really super. We're now going to Hoylake shore. Yesterday somebody had a curlew sandpiper here, which will be amazing. It's not been seen today, but let's see what else is coming for roost as it's high tide. It was only about a 10-minute drive up to Hoylake shore from West Kirby. And when we arrived, we saw there were plenty of birds in the high tide roost. Hey folks.
Bit rainy.
It's raining. We're here at Hoylake shore. There's a lot of birds out there coming to roost. I don't know what there is, but there's a hell of a lot.
A lot of gulls.
A lot of gulls, what looks like a lot of darker birds that I'm wondering if they're waders. Is that a load of birds out there?
Yeah, we might have to get rid.
Right, stick with us, let's have a look. We saw some other birders, so walked over to see if they'd seen anything special. When we got there, they were looking for the curlew sandpiper that had been there the previous day, but they hadn't seen it. There were plenty of other waders there though, including an enormous amount of oyster catchers. There were some smaller waders, like these ringed plovers. Also, there were some dunlin in smart summer plumage sporting a black front. We scanned pretty thoroughly through the birds there, seeing this group of 3 redshank. It wasn't just the wading birds that were here, there was plenty of gulls as well. As expected, there were some black-headed gulls, most now in winter plumage. We also spotted some common gulls, which aren't that common, and sitting amongst the common gulls, a tern species was represented by a pair of sandwich tern. After chatting to one of the other birders there, they pointed out a Mediterranean gull, which was halfway between summer and winter plumage. It was quite a distance, so the videos are pretty shaky, but really nice to see, and something I didn't expect to see today. After standing in the rain and the wind watching these birds for a while, we decided it was now time to move on and leave the windy Wirral behind. But where to go next? Is everyone having a good day? Have you seen lots of birds?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you know where we're going now, or do you need me to tell you?
Van.
We're going in the van, yeah. Do you know where we're going in the van?
No.
Right, we're going into Cheshire. So we're on the Wirral now, we're going into Cheshire to try and find some black terns. Okay. Feeling pretty windswept, we headed from the Wirral into Cheshire. Hey folks, I'm up at Budworth. There's been some reported black terns here today, which is a bird, although I've seen before abroad, I've never seen in the UK. So we've headed there. We've had a bit of a rigmarole finding how to get down to the mere, but I found like a public right of way now. The girls are in the van because Emily's finishing her ice cream, which she's very happy with. So they're going to catch me up. See you shortly. Before long, I was joined by Kaylee and Emily, who'd finally finished her ice cream. Looking out onto the mere, the terns certainly weren't obvious to see. I scanned, seeing a group of black-headed gulls in the middle of the mere on the water. Closer by, there was some coot feeding, and a little bit further out than that, there were quite a number of great crested grebes like this adult. Eventually, with a bit of patience and persistence, I was able to just about see the black terns that were fishing, mainly on the far bank near some trees. You can just about pick them out in the video. They're the reasonably dark birds that are a little smaller than gulls.
Hey folks, I'm here at Budworth Mere. Success! The black terns are somewhere behind me. They're basically on the opposite side of the lake. So the footage is not good at all, but you can just about see what they are. There's a few adults and a few young birds as well. So these are the first black terns I've seen in the UK. Kaylee and Emily came down to see them. They've now gone back to the van. We'll meet you back there.
Just before Emily and Kaylee left, Emily got to see a kingfisher as one flew past.
Hey folks, we've been at Budworth Mere. We've seen the black terns, which is cool. It's been an interesting kind of 24 hours or so. We've seen spoonbills, Mediterranean gulls, black terns, and loads of waders and ducks and lots of geese. So that's enough for this video. Thanks very much for watching.
Like and subscribe, really.
And hit the notification bell.
See you soon. The next video is our 100th video since having the channel. So we'll do...
Big one.
It's a big one. We'll do a rundown of all of the rare birds we've seen in our time. Stick with us for that. See you soon.